I was on vacation the first time I found this road. I wasn't looking for anything profound, just a quiet detour, a scenic drive away from the noise. But the deeper I drove into that forest, this magical forest, the more the road began to feel familiar to me. Not in the geographic sense, but in the emotional one, winding, isolated, a little unsure of where it was going. Then came the bend. A narrow, curved stretch swallowed in shadow, trees leaning in like they were trying to tell me a secret. The road, it seemed to disappear just beyond the corner, like it was hiding something from me. I pulled over, got out with my camera, and I stood still. And in that stillness, I heard it. The noise in my head I'd brought with me on that vacation. The stuff I thought I left at home, the questions I hadn't answered, the self-doubt I hadn't shaken, the truth I hadn't spoken. I raised my camera, but it wasn't just about capturing the landscape. It was about translating what I couldn't say out loud. That photo wasn't just a memory of a place. It was a portrait of a feeling, a snapshot of something unresolved inside me. And that's what today's video is about. Because what we create, whether it's a photograph, it's a song, it's a poem, it's a painting, is often our attempt to give shape to the things we can't put into words. So let's start by talking about creative output as unspoken expression. Some creators, they talk with their hands instead of their voices. They speak in brushstrokes and camera angles, fabric seams, paragraphs, playlists. And it's not because they're afraid of speaking, though. It's because what they have to say, it lives somewhere deeper than language. When you pick up a pen, a lens, a guitar, a paintbrush, you're giving voice to things that don't have words yet. A photographer might not say, "I feel invisible," but their photos, isn't it interesting that their photos always seem to feature empty chairs? Or maybe a poet, for instance. They may never say, "I'm afraid of being forgotten," but isn't it also interesting that every line drips with memory? This isn't accidental. I really don't believe that. I believe it's how the creative soul survives. Now let's talk about intimacy and vulnerability. This is why creativity is so deeply vulnerable. To create is to confess, not always directly, not always clearly, but undeniably. You reveal what moves you, what you've survived, what you've lost, what you're still hoping to find. Even if no one else understands it, you know the truth behind the lines, the chords, the contrast, the color. And that's why sharing your work can feel so terrifying. Because you're not just showing your art, you're showing your insides. But that's also why it's so sacred. And now, once again, let's talk about the neuroscience. Here's where science steps in to confirm what all of us creatives already know and we already feel. Neuroscience shows that the parts of the brain responsible for emotion, especially the limbic system, the right hemisphere, are often more activated during creative processes than the language-dominant left hemisphere. Isn't this interesting? The amygdala, the hippocampus that I've talked about in prior videos, centers for emotion, centers for memory, are highly involved in spontaneous creative expression. Art therapy. This research has shown that expressive creation can help integrate traumatic or suppressed memories that are stored implicitly in the body and in the brain. In verbal therapy, much of what I do here in my office, language must catch up to the emotion. But creativity It allows the emotion to come first, raw, unfiltered, unedited. This is why someone can say, I don't know what I'm feeling right now. I don't know what's happening inside me. And then they paint a picture that says everything. Your brain knows what you feel, even when your mouth doesn't. Now let's talk about the importance of creating anyway. This is why creating isn't optional for many of us. It's necessary. If you're holding something inside you that can't be said, create it. If you're carrying something too heavy to explain, create it. If you feel alone, if you feel misunderstood or muted, don't wait until you find the perfect words. Let the paint, let the pen, let the camera, the voice memo speak on your behalf. Because if you don't, those unspoken things, they can turn inward, right? They can calcify into anxiety and depression and shame or even silence. But when we create, when we bring what's inside into the light, we reclaim power over it. We make it seen. We make it real. We make it ours. Not everything you feel can be said, but everything you feel can be expressed. And sometimes your truest voice is the one that doesn't use words at all. So here's my challenge to you. Create something this week, something that says what you've never said out loud. You don't have to share it with anybody, but let it exist. Give it a voice. Give it your voice. Now go and let your silence speak.